scene seemed completely normal, but the women inside the vehicle didn't know they had been followed home by dangerous individuals. They parked as they did every day, unaware that danger was just around the corner. Another car stopped behind the white vehicle, blocking its path. Several men quickly got out and approached the newly parked car. The attackers began searching the occupants, and one of them raised her hands as they took their belongings. They had no chance at all. Everything suggested they had been watched for quite some time. The criminals were preparing to take the car and finish the robbery, but they were not ready for what was about to happen. One of the suspects started the stolen vehicle as the victims ran inside the house for safety. At the same time, the other attackers began fleeing in panic. Suddenly, the car came to a stop, and a hail of gunfire shattered the windows. The thieves ran for their lives, one of them even struggling to move. Neighbors realized what was happening and decided to step in to stop the attackers. The man who fired the shots does not appear on camera, but his presence was more than clear to the criminals. In the end, the suspects fought to escape until they abandoned the scene. They clearly never stood a chance. Full credit goes to that neighbor who acted in time and managed to save the people who lived there. In this case, the yellow delivery truck was clearly chosen as a target. The attackers stopped at a distance and then slowly began to approach the vehicle. The delivery driver noticed the suspicious movements in his rearview mirror and decided to act before it was too late. His quick reaction forced the criminals to give up after completely failing in their attempt. Full credit goes to the driver, who did everything possible to escape and protect his life. He also managed to maneuver carefully without damaging other vehicles, even under extreme pressure, in a situation where every second could mean the difference between life and death. Police were alerted to an ongoing robbery inside a store in South Africa. The attackers had no idea that authorities had already been notified, and that they were about to get a very unpleasant surprise. We first see an officer enter the store and, before drawing his weapon, assess the situation. Within seconds, other officers join him, and the tension rises quickly. The robber didn't immediately realize they were police, and by the time he understood what was happening, it was already too late. He dropped to the floor hard, like a sack of potatoes, leaving the weapon behind. His accomplice did the same moments later. All their aggression vanished after a complete failure. The police intervention was effective, but the aftermath could have been handled better. Some business owners began handling the weapon the criminals had left on the floor, which is a major mistake. When authorities take control of a scene, civilians should stay as far away as possible, especially when it is still an active situation. Any distraction can be dangerous when dealing with unpredictable suspects. In the following case, The owner of a white vehicle had just arrived home and was about to get out when kidnappers blocked his path from behind. They immediately ordered him out of the car, but the chaos took an unexpected turn. They forced him into the getaway vehicle while another criminal took control of the target car. Everything seemed to be going according to plan, until the new driver realized he was not prepared for what was coming. The owner's companions noticed what was happening and decided to intervene before the thief could escape. In the middle of the panic, the attacker put the car into first gear instead of reverse. With weapons pointed directly at his face, the man was confronted with a harsh reality, experiencing firsthand what victims feel when they face these criminals. This driver was dropping off a woman at her destination, unaware that just a few meters away, attackers were watching his every move. When they saw him stop, they decided to approach the vehicle, and the situation was about to escalate within seconds. But the man was not willing to be caught off guard so easily. With an unexpected reaction, he managed to thwart the attempt, leaving the criminals completely confused by the driver's maneuver. This motorcyclist was refueling when some thieves decided it was the perfect moment to claim a new owner, by force. But the rider was not willing to give up his most prized possession without a fight. The attackers thought they had found an easy target, a real stroke of luck. They were completely wrong. The attempt ended in a humiliating failure, leaving them embarrassed after failing to achieve their goal. These criminals were chased and ultimately captured by the South African police. After failing to escape the response team, they ended up lying face down on the ground. They had stolen a Mercedes-Benz in the middle of traffic and in broad daylight, but their escape came to an abrupt end. In this scene, the criminals managed to stop the vehicle they had targeted, but they were not prepared for what came next. The South African police arrived just in time and thwarted the assault, completely turning the situation around. The thieves panicked and tried to flee as everything fell apart around them. The officers acted immediately and arrested several suspects on the spot. Others tried to escape, but the police quickly reminded them why they carry weapons. One of the attackers ended up struggling on the ground, facing the consequences of his own actions. The following scene shows why it's vital to always stay aware of your surroundings while driving in South Africa. The criminals tried to hijack the vehicle, but the driver had already anticipated their move and acted without hesitation, in true Dominic Toretto style. He made them look like complete amateurs, leaving them panicking as they tried to react. In South Africa, the police don't always have a good reputation, but sometimes they prove to be effective. There's a popular saying, the SAPS is useless until they're looking for you. In this case, the officers had already identified a wanted vehicle, and the pursuit was officially underway. In many situations like this, criminals carry illegal weapons and don't hesitate to shoot at the police. Even so, these officers risk their lives daily with the aim of making South Africa a slightly safer place. During the escape, the suspect made the reckless decision to drive in the wrong direction, a desperate maneuver that only hastened his downfall. The officers knew the show was about to end. In the end, they managed to recover the vehicle, arrest the criminals, and confiscate jamming devices used to block signals. These thieves didn't waste any time entering the store. They had a plan, but things didn't go as expected. The robbery was in full swing, with the two criminals in complete control, believing everything would go perfectly. However, someone noticed the commotion inside and called the police. The response team arrived quickly, and it was time for the criminals to meet the ground. In this case, the thieves had chosen a business in a busy area of South Africa, thinking it would be an easy job. But the outcome turned out to be quite comical. First, we see the main suspect's vehicle reversing, trying to get into a better position for the robbery. The other accomplices were inside the silver VW. The first criminal got out of the vehicle to assess the situation, and the second stepped out as a signal to start the attack. As soon as the second one exited, the others went into action, but they weren't prepared for the exchange of gunfire with the guards. They arrived a bit late and failed to enter the establishment. Here we see a man taking something from a white car. A motorcyclist wasn't going to stand by and watch this thief get away. His persistence was clear. The thief tried to flee, but the motorcyclist chased him with determination, attempting to recover the stolen bag. Realizing his mistake, the thief eventually dropped the bag and ran. The bag was recovered and returned to its owner. Later, a red car had an unexpected tail ready to act. The thieves followed the vehicle into a gated community, stopped, and got out thinking it was their chance, but the driver knew the situation well. The criminals tried to catch up, but it was already too late. Fortunately, the driver's quick reaction worked perfectly. This driver had been followed home by unknown individuals who waited for the car to stop to act. But he was prepared. The thieves had to duck and run as bullets flew. Thanks to his preparation, he ensured the intruders retreated. The following scene is simply heartbreaking and shows just how far these criminals are willing to go. A woman was trying to withdraw money from an ATM, unaware that the people beside her were planning something utterly despicable. One of these individuals pretended to help the elderly woman at the ATM, while his accomplices stayed behind, acting like ordinary people in line. Robbing someone who could be your own mother demonstrates a truly shocking level of depravity and lack of scruples. In South Africa, everything can become dangerous in a matter of seconds. This man left his car door open, and that small lapse attracted dangerous company. The criminals took everything he had, including the vehicle. This situation shows how, in South Africa, everything can go wrong in an instant.